Aliens, a fantastic source material for great movies, not so great movies, games, books, TV shows, conspiracies, and the occasional article published by a media outlet that has Sir Stephen Hawking's name on it. And it is no surprise as to why it is so popular. The lack of substantial discovery of alien life has allowed plenty of room for our imagination. And a lot of these imaginations have to do with questions like, is alien life common? Is extraterrestrial intelligence common? And would they resemble us? And the like. And one thing's for certain, we haven't fully figured out the answers to them just yet. And this episode certainly won't be able to give final absolute answers to them either, because that's a task left to empirical science. But what this episode will do is to try and answer them from a critical and philosophical standpoint, show why we think what we think, and why some answers that we come up with may be wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ClickPhilosophy. First off, is alien life common? Is extraterrestrial intelligence common? Many people would say yes, even if we were unable to observe them just yet. I mean, just look at us. We've gone from pieces of RNA in the oceans to intelligent life in just under 4.5 billion years. And there are billions and billions of stars in our galaxy, and probably roughly as many planets. And there are billions of galaxies in the observable universe. Surely, if it was easy for life to arise on Earth, it should be easy for life to arise on other planets. Hence, alien life, or extraterrestrial intelligence for that matter, should be pretty common. This has generally been regarded as a good answer to the question, but there are a few problems. Firstly, it is possible that it is phenomenally difficult for life to arise, and we're just incredibly lucky. Here's an analogy to explain this idea. Imagine that someone has locked you and 1,000 other people in different rooms, so that it is one person per room. The goal is to get out of the room with a lockpick given to you. Now, imagine that the locks are incredibly difficult to open, even with the help of a lockpick, and that the average time for someone to successfully get out of the room is 1 hour. You, on the other hand, got incredibly lucky with whatever you did with your lockpick, and you managed to get out in 5 minutes. Wow, you say to yourself, that was quick and easy. And because you got out so quickly and easily, you assume that it is true for everybody else who are still locked in their rooms. However, you would think that arriving at that conclusion in this scenario is pretty ridiculous. In this analogy, rooms are planets, and escaping from the room is equivalent to life arising from simple molecules. Of course, there is no way to know the true average time that it would take for life to arise on different planets, because we simply don't have the data. But what this analogy highlights is that we commit a logical fallacy in assuming that it should be easy for life to arise, and hence life should be pretty common. This is a form of inductive fallacy, or more commonly known as faulty generalization, trying to come up with a universal conclusion that it should be easy for life to arise, and hence it should be common at this point in time, because we ourselves are pretty early here in the universe. A single point of evidence is pretty faulty. Usually, conclusions that make sweeping generalizations are extremely difficult to back up, especially because the evidence could as well be a statistical outlier. You can find more about the problem of induction here in the 8th episode about the scientific method. Now, it is important to distinguish that this does not mean that the answer to the question is definitely going to be, no, life is not common because it isn't easy. We don't have evidence for that conclusion either. It is crucial to note that the absence of evidence cannot serve as evidence of absence for the same reason above. But what could be regarded a little convenient is that, if it was indeed difficult for life to arise, then Fermi's paradox would be solved. The Fermi paradox is simply the apparent contradiction between the lack of evidence and the high probability estimates for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations. If the probability is actually low, then there's no contradiction, but that's for another episode. Now, let's get to question 2. Would alien life resemble us in appearance and behavior? Us, as in creatures of Earth? Many would say, probably not. If the organisms of different species differ so much as they do on Earth, then wouldn't it be likely that life on other planets, completely separate from the paths that life took on Earth, bear even less resemblance to us? Perhaps. But we shouldn't forget a concept called convergent evolution. Convergent evolution is the process whereby organisms not closely related independently evolve similar traits as a result of having to adapt to similar environments or ecological niches. So if there are exoplanets that resemble the Earth in a lot of ways, including its history, chemical and atmospheric composition, temperature, and various variables, it could be possible that organisms on Earth 2.0 could resemble us, or at least have traits that we recognize. Organisms could have wings to take advantage of flight in a thick atmosphere, for example. Oh, and here's another thing. If we ever discover civilizations through radio signals, that is, the alien civilization sent out a message encoded in radio waves, then it's safe to assume that such civilization knows at least how to use radio and have access to technologies and knowledge that would have enabled them to build those devices or methods utilizing radio. Think of it as the technology tree in Civilization 5. In order to build and use some technology, knowledge of other technologies is required in the first place. So they would resemble us in some recognizable form and the knowledge and the technology they might possess. Now, whether their behavior or culture would resemble us is an entirely different question. Of course, if Darwinian evolution by natural selection is assumed to be true, the organisms on other planets in the universe would have at least some sort of primal instinct to survive and preserve themselves, because those that do not simply die out and do not reproduce. So it is not incorrect in assuming that alien organisms would have mechanisms and behaviors for self-preservation. However, we can't get any further on such as what values or moral systems that they might have, because such answers cross into the realm of unsubstantiated speculation, and there is still so much research to do on organisms and ourselves here on Earth. This brings us to yet another but important question. Would they be hostile? Would they invade the Earth, harvest resources, destroy us, and basically conquer us out of existence? Many scientists think that they would. Some have pointed out that us meeting an advanced civilization could be like Native Americans encountering Columbus, which did not go so well for the less advanced party. But this argument also falls victim to the inductive fallacy. Examples from Earth of a contact between members of the same species is not exactly equivalent to two different species from different worlds contacting each other. The advanced party being hostile to another while in contact on Earth does not guarantee nor inform us that all advanced alien civilizations would be hostile to us. We could infer that they could be hostile, but it does not mean that all of them will be for certain. We have a tendency to project our own qualities and desires to things that we do not yet know. Understandable, yes, but for such arguments to be strong, they must be substantiated by strong reasoning and evidence coming from empirical and rational explanations. And consider this. The universe is full of planets, asteroids, and stars. There are trillions of places where spacefaring civilizations could mine and obtain resources. Advanced technology reduces scarcity in that it more often than not improves access to greater resources. In the age of exploration, we were geographically limited, hence our conquest of other civilizations for gold and other goods. In the case of advanced aliens, who are able to roam free in the vast universe and have trillions of places to choose from, bombarding a small planet like the Earth just for its resources does not really seem like a favorable or logical solution. I'm looking at you, Independence Day resurgence. If we indeed find aliens to be hostile, it is possible that they may be motivated by something that we don't really know the reasons to, perhaps by a directive or perhaps by something else. Such considerations have given birth to amazing works of fiction, as well as a concept called cosmicism, that the motivations of cosmic beings may be inherently inaccessible to human understanding. So, the Reapers from Mass Effect, if you will. So that basically wraps up a lot of questions and their answers. And perhaps this episode drove the point that philosophy is not only about thinking of the good life, or what Plato said in his Republic, but also in asking questions, critically analyzing arguments and reasoning, and reflecting on why we think what we think, and how we might get to better and more informed answers. It is incredible how logical fallacies are thrown around casually in conversations, political arguments, news articles, and such, and it is important to recognize it. Hopefully, this episode revealed some pretty neat things about what we think about aliens, as well as introduce you to the errors that we might make as humans. If you've enjoyed this video, please tap the little circle icon subscribe button and share this on various websites and blogs. And as always, thank you for watching Click Philosophy.